Hey, I'm Tom Anderson, go by Tom Lucian online, and today I'm going to take people through building an app or an Arch on the Fias platform using Fias's plugin system. Okay, so let me take people through how you can build an Arch using the plugin system. And a good place to get started is just coming to the main Fias page. And when you first come to the Fias page, you'll see over here in the suggested arches, the Arch Builder. So click on that, and then come in and click a new Arch. And so you can create guided arches where it takes you through a guided pass to be able to create an arch. You can create arches just with chat, and both of those happen just inside the Fias platform itself. Or, as we're describing today, you can create arches using the plugin system. I did a separate video on the guided and chat, and so I'll show the plugin system today, of course. So you click on that, and it takes you through kind of step by step how to get your computer set up to be able to program in the plugin approach. So if you're on a Mac, click the instructions there. I'll do this on Windows today. If you have a Linux box, you can just go straight into that. Or you could actually even use code spaces on GitHub and just program directly through a web browser rather than doing it on your computer. So I go into the Windows and you can see instructions. The instructions take you through all the steps to get set up with Windows. So to program with Claude Code, for example, or Codex, you would program in WSL. So this gives the instructions on implementing WSL on your PC. And if these instructions seem intimidating, then you can also come into the Guide Me approach. And the Guide Me approach is really neat. So it says, hi, I'll walk you through setting up a Fias plugin development environment on Windows, one step at a time. If anything goes wrong, error messages, weird output, I don't know what this means, paste it in here and I'll help. So, let's get started. So if you're very first getting started and you want to build a plugin, an Arch through the plugin system, then come in here and it can take you through step by step how to do it. And it doesn't matter what level you're at, you don't have to be technical at all, really. It'll just kind of take you step by step if you're not very technical. So great, let me start with a quick check of where you're at. Do you already have WSL2 installed? So you can just type in, I don't know what WSL2 is, if you don't know what it is. And then it'll say, no problem, I'll take you through it. So no problem. WSL2 is basically a way to run Linux directly on Windows. So open PowerShell. And again, if you don't know any step, you just say it. I don't know what PowerShell is. And no matter what your kind of technical level, you can just ask questions and it'll take you from kind of, if you're really basic, to kind of medium up to, a tech expert can kind of take you through. I got it. No problem. No worries. PowerShell is just Windows command line tool. So press the Windows key, type PowerShell. So it tells you how to get PowerShell set up, and then it just tells you what to type in to get Windows set up. And then it'll take you through all the way until you've got Claude Code itself installed. And so for the purposes of this demo today, I'm going to jump in now to a window where I've got Claude Code installed. And in Claude Code, you just type the word Claude in WSL, it starts up Claude Code. That's where we are now. And you just type whatever you want to type and program with. And it's just like any other AI. So I'll just type even hello, to get started. And so hello, I'm working on the Fias platform, whether it's feature, bug fix, So if we're doing a plugin, then I've got this kind of set up. And so the main thing, and this is in the instructions in Arch Builder, but one of the main things you want to do is just type npm create Fias plugin and then the name. So the Arch that I'm going to create today, the application I'm going to create today, is a traditional paddleball game, kind of like Pong. And so I've got this command, run npm create Fias plugin paddleball cd to that directory and install. And then it also says read claude.md for the full SDK reference. Wait for me to describe what I want to build. And the first line, I describe which directory I want. So really, once you have Claude set up, this is all you need, just this one sentence or two if you want to kind of set the directory. So then you come in and you just type that. And so it's going to go through and get the application all set up. And it says, wait for me to describe what I want to build. So we'll tell it after it's gotten everything set up. So a couple other things I'll mention, while that's working in the background. So when you're developing with plugins, you use your own coding assistant. So here we're in Claude Code. You can use Codex. You can use any other type of system. And so you get set up with your own account. And you program with that. If you want to use Fias, then you could do it through the guided approach or the chat approach that I described earlier. If you don't want to go through and get your own kind of Claude Code set up. I'm going to make another video as well of just how you get set up with Claude Code getting started. Because you're developing with your own code, in this type of approach, the plugin approach, you can also get your own Git source code control set up. You can work as a team. You can have multiple people accessing the Git repository. If it's a big project, you can architect the entire platform defining your plugins. You can really architect a full kind of structure. And then you can get CI/CD processes set up. You can define your own test coverage. A lot of things that you would do for kind of a high level, more professional type of application. You don't need to know any of those things, if you're kind of just playing around and getting started. But just know that you can implement those things over time, especially as you learn more, and again really develop a professional implementation for building your applications. One of the most important things that Fias provides is security. And so if you don't know what you're doing, AI can get you in trouble with respect to security. And so we've got, through this plugin system, all the guardrails set up where you can build powerful applications, but do so in a safe and secure context. Plugins run in a sandboxed iframe. And so we have a bridge that goes into Fias for implementing the features. Claude will know all the features with the way we've got the plugin set up, and so it can implement it as needed. And so you don't need to know what the features are themselves. You could just type in English what you want Claude to do, and it'll know which features to use. But for those of you that want to know, here's some of the various features that plugins use. Plugins can use their own database storage. That's a really compelling concept because it's a pain in the butt getting all the infrastructure set up to have your own database. So the plugins just plug in directly into our databases. You can save and access files through your plugin. Plugins can interact with the AI. And so there's a lot of different models that we've already implemented, and we'll add more over time, ranging from Anthropic to ChatGPT models, Google, Grok, etc. Plugins can include their own file libraries. So there's a Arche that I built that's a children's book story creator that has a library of images that you can use for references as backgrounds or characters. So for that Arche, I uploaded that entire library. Plugins can include their own NPM packages. And so if you want to build a graph, for example, in your Arche, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You could just get a downloadable established NPM package for that. You can link in with our hosted fonts packages. You can interact with really any number of third-party APIs through our entity system. And if you ever need to access a third-party API in your Arche and it's not already supported, then you can just request, and we'll add more and more entities over time. And then importantly, Arches can be paid. So you could have people actually pay to get access and use your Arche, or they can also use in-app purchases. So it's a lot of kind of traditional app strategies for monetization. And we're also going to add in advertising systems soon as well. And so if you want to monetize through advertising, we'll have that available shortly. And we're constantly adding more functionality overall into the plugin system. So this early beta it has an initial set of features, but it's just the beginning. We're going to be implementing more and more over time. Okay, so let's see. Everything's scaffolded and installed. Two things from the first session clock worth flagging. SDK is behind NPM. Okay. You won't run into this kind of being behind if you're starting from fresh. But if you've already built your own Arche, the AI is smart enough to kind of mention that. So okay, so let's update, the both, and then tell it to wait for my build description. So it's going to update to the latest SDK. This should just take a moment. I'll fast forward the video to when this is done. Okay, so now it's updated the packages. And so, like I said, we're going to build a paddleball game, kind of like a classic Pong game. And I wrote a paragraph for it. So I'm going to copy that paragraph. And then when you're developing, with an AI assistant, you can just, again, type regular English and describe what you want. So I would like to create a classic paddleball game comparable to the classic Pong game. It should be the player versus an AI. Let's have 3 difficulty settings: easy, medium, and hard. The ball should be slower on easy and fast on hard. The AI should also be faster with more difficulty. Let's play to 3 and keep track of high scores as the best time to win. Let's create a shared leaderboard that anyone can see. So I put that in because that shows that we're interacting with an actual database, because if anybody can see it, you need data that's accessible to anyone. Let's include simple sound effects. At the end of the game, have an AI session where the AI talks smack against the player and the player can respond in a streamed conversation. So I wanted to add that into this demo just to show that, how the AI works, and AI integration. And make sure that it's not overly rude, but it can be edgy and taunt the player whether they win or lose, trying to get them to play again. All right, so you just hit enter. So in general, again, you just type in what you want your Arch to do and the AI will build it. As a general rule, the more that you type, the more description you give, the more specifics, the more it'll be what you want and come out, as a better Arch. So this will probably take about, my guess is about 10 minutes. It's not a super complicated Arch, but it's not trivial either. So it'll go through and implement it. So I'll fast forward again and then come back once it's ready to give it a try. Okay, so we're back. That took about 15 minutes. And then once the AI is done building your Arch, then you can go in and test it, of course. So the way that you do that is you can open up another window, or you can even get Claude to do it for you. So here we're in the paddleball window. Here's all the files that it just created. And what you do is you type npm start. So once you type npm start, then it gets everything set up and running. And it says open in the browser at localhost 3200. All right, so I'm going to copy that. And then we'll put that in. So now we're running it locally on my computer. And so here's the paddleball game it just created. So I'm seeing this for the first time myself. And this top row is the harness that we can use to build applications, using this plugin system. So it gives you kind of access to kind of the settings and publishing it. I'll show that in a moment. There's a dev console at the bottom. And so let's go ahead and give it a try. So we hit play. All right, I got a paddle ball and it moves. And so it looks like the AI is pretty tough. Like I might not be able to get it. So I'll probably have to slow it down a little bit. And so you could play Pong. Oh, there, I got it. All right, good. And so I'm just going to let it beat me, because it'll probably take me a little bit more time to get to 3. Okay, Volley has something to say. So Volley said, Volley is warming up. Okay, so Volley, so the AI chose the name Volley as this character that you talk to. And so for first, the text, is too dark to read. So let's fix that. And so this is the general process. Once you've implemented stuff, you go and you fix various things. So when Volley starts talking at the end, the text is too dark. It should be lighter. So this is what's fun with AI programming, is you just type in whatever you need to get fixed and it'll fix it. And so now it's going through and it's thinking about it. It'll go through and find where the text is, and it'll just make it lighter. All right, so let's come in and look. Now the other thing is, so Volley has something to say, and so it starts talking to you, and then you can talk back. Well, the reason that it says Volley is warming up, so if I highlight it, I can see it in the meantime while it's fixing that. It's not live yet, and so what we want to do is change it to live. And so now we're in the live mode. I've logged in recently. If you try to go live, you might need to sign in, and it gives you a link and a code, and that'll sign you in. So it's pretty straightforward. So now I'm signed in. Now if Volley talks to me, I'm in the live mode, and it should actually talk back to me. All right, so let me look at the Smack Talk bubble code and the actual theme color. So it's still going through and figuring it out right now. Let me play another round. Well, I'll wait for that. So I'll fast forward until this is done. Okay, so here we're back. It had I realized there was a problem with opacity. It took about 2.5 minutes, which is a little bit longer than a lot of times those kind of quick fixes take, but I guess the opacity was a little confusing for it. And then after it was done, it tried to restart, the server, and I was doing it, so I told it that I would start it. So now it's cleaned everything up. Okay, so we've got that fix in. Actually, let me get this going in the background because we knew this was an issue. The ball is too slow in medium, and the paddle, I'll say the opponent paddle is too fast in medium. And so you could tweak the gameplay, tweak anything in your Arch as you need. Let's fix that. Okay, so we'll be doing that in the background. So now here I am, and I'm gonna do npm start again. It'll get going again, and then I bring this up, hit F5 just so it's fresh, switch back over to live again. So now we're live and it should talk to us. And then I'll hit play. I'm gonna let it beat me again, just again to kind of get to the end. All right, Volley has something to say. All right, so that's still broken. So let's go back and check what's wrong there. Okay, so tune that. The text on the final page is still too dark. It says, so I'll give it a hint of where it's what it's looking at. So we'll copy both of those. It says, Volley has something to say, Volley is warming up. I cannot see the Volley is warming up text unless I highlight it. Okay, so let's fix that again, and then I'll fast forward again and come back when it's done. Okay, so we're back again, and so it, let's see, let me find where it was. Okay, so I had written the text on the final page is still too dark. It says Volley has something to say, Volley is warming up. I cannot see the Volley is warming up text unless I highlight it. So that time I gave it more specifics and it was able to go through and find it. So it even says that's a different bug. So I didn't give it enough information. So that's one of the tricks in general when you're going back and forth with the AI. The more information you can give it to kind of understand what you need, the better. So then it goes through, and these kind of green and red lines show red where something got deleted, green where something got added, so you can kind of see what it's doing. And it says fixed and verified. The root cause was a token mix-up. All right. So then I ran it and meant to say, okay, so okay, the text looks good now. It still says Volley was warming up rather than Volley actually saying something. What went wrong? So the AI interacting wasn't working that time. And so so we're fixing that issue. And then I also saw while it was thinking, let me check what the harness returns for an entity invocation in mock mode. So I hit escape and I let it know I'm not in mock mode, I'm in live mode because I wanted it to be fixing the right thing. So then it says found it definitively. So it found that problem. So here we are, and we can try it again. So when you come in, I hit npm start, you hit Control C to exit out, and then you hit npm start again. And so now it's starting up again. Can go back into the local host, and let's bring it back up. I'll hit F5 to refresh, change it back to live, and let's play again. Okay, so the paddle is a little bit slower this time. I can see that it's a little slower. Still is, so there, I got that. I'm going to let it beat me again because it's the quickest way to get to the end still. All right, so now it says volley has something to say, and then this I can see is changing 3-1, baby. I'd say nice try, but honestly, it wasn't that nice. So, oh, it's on, Donkey Kong. So we'll talk some smack back. So now it's chatting back with us. Oh, it's on, honey. It's been on. You just didn't notice because you spent most of the match watching my highlights. Hit that rematch button and let's make it 3-0 this time. Oh, you're going down, my man. All right, so the smack talk back and forth. So kind of a fun little addition to the game. Down. The only thing going down is your win percentage. It does a little downwards graph. Hit the rematch button, prove me wrong if you dare. All right, so we'll play again. And so go through and play again. And so you have to try to hit it right at the edge of the paddle. And you have to keep your cursor on the screen while you're doing it, just kind of usual. So let's see if I can quickly win, or yeah, okay. So we'll see what the win condition is, as long as I can win. That might got it. All right, there we are. Volley has something to say. So we just talked some smack, and now now that time I won. Ha, 3-2. I let you breathe for 2 whole points just to make it interesting. Don't let that little W go to your head, rookie. So you can see overall in this Arche, and there's the 27.3 seconds. So you can see overall in this Arche that it has the interactions with the Pong, the game. It has the AI interactions, and we can look at the full board for the leaderboards. So there's a bug there as well, and so again you can go through and fix any of the issues that you need for the purposes of this demo. And that's pretty typical. Usually there's a number of things that you have to go through and fix. So for the purposes of this demo, I'll just show one more concept, which is the actual. Oh no, I don't want to show my plugins. I want to show the publish. Okay, so we've got Paddleball. It already went through and filled in some of the initial stuff, which is nice. The name, I'm going to call it Paddleball with a space with caps. Looks a little nicer. It's listed so people will be able to play. I could put it in full screen mode. Well, it's a game, so let's do that. Let's put it in full screen mode and no base cost. It's just a real simple thing. So just like you would in the chat or the guided mode online, you can use the harness to actually publish it. So now I'm going to build and submit. In this case, I'm logged into staging, and so for any of you building, you'd be actually logged into production. And so now I'm going to confirm and build. So what it does is builds it, packages it, and submits it for review. And now it'll go through the review process. So AI is reviewing it, making sure that nobody put anything that's kind of trying to hack other players, that kind of stuff. So it does a full security audit, and now it's published. And so now I'm going to hit close, and just to test it out, I'm going to go into staging now. All right, and here we're logged into staging now. And so what I can do is go into the Arche store, and I can type in Paddleball. And so there's the Paddleball Arche that we just made. And so you click on it, open the Arche, and here it is. And it's in full mode, so you don't see the Fias background. This is running on staging, so it's live, so other people can play it. And then we've got the game. Oh, and it's in light mode right now, so the arches can be built in light or dark mode. And so actually my preferences were already in light, so you could see this running in light mode. So here we have it. Here we have a game created with the plugin system, with AI interacting with it. and I won. So a 3-0. Let's see what Volley has to say now. 3-0. I let you have that one, Tom. I was still loading my real moves. Sounds like a poor loser to me. We'll see what he says. A poor loser? Please. I'm already bored of losing to you on medium. Come on. Find me on hard and we'll see who's crying then. Touche. All right, so there we have it. There's building an Arche in the Fias plugin system. Hope everybody enjoyed it and can't wait to see what everybody else builds with our plugin system. So looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone.